The next question has to do with energy and energy policy, and we will begin the questioning with Mr. Hendry. Mr. Hendry, what do you believe to be a responsible energy policy for America to pursue, including whether or not you support offshore drilling, Deepwater Horizon, or closer into shore, or any form of cap and trade? Mr. Hendry, you have 90 seconds.
I'll answer the last part of that question first. I do not support cap and trade at all. It'll make everybody's utility bill go up, and it'll make your unemployment rate go up. Just ask Spain. They've been on it. They're up their unemployment rate 16% right now. What happened in the Gulf is a catastrophe. It has a lot of faults, and there's a lot of people to blame. The first thing we've got to do is get that hole in the well plugged, and hopefully we did that, or BP did that today, hopefully. The second thing you've got to do is we've got to be able to take care of our citizens, especially on the Gulf Coast, find out who's responsible and make sure that people are compensated for that. But that being said, we cannot give up on offshore drilling. The reason for that is 30% of our domestic oil production comes from the Gulf of Mexico. Russia and China are getting ready to start drilling 40 miles off the coast of Florida. I would rather our people be out there drilling and have some type of catastrophe than to have Russia or China who wouldn't really care about where the oil went. We need to come up with a responsible oil policy, energy policy, where we put nuclear energy at the forefront of everything. We also need to be going after every resource that we have, the oil shale in the Rocky Mountains, the ANWR oil, and also offshore. We need to go to clean coal. We have the ability, but the only thing that's going to get us off of fossil fuel is when the free market dictates that. And when renewable people come up with something, the American people will buy it, I guarantee you. Thank you.
Mr. McNeil, what do you believe to be a responsible energy policy for our nation to pursue, including, please, in your answer, your thoughts on whether you support offshore drilling and any form of cap and trade? You have 90 seconds.
Well, absolutely no on cap and trade, period. That's the end of the story on that one. Think about where we were 100 years ago in technology. Just think about it. I was there through most of it. We had one ring and the neighbor had two. I mean, I go back a while. I grew up out of a nickel in my pocket. I figured I had on somebody else's britches. We've gone through a lot. We've seen a lot. So what I'm telling you is, what's going to happen in the next 100 years? We're scared to death about drilling in the Gulf. My Lord, the technology we have today, BP was violating about 400 different things that they weren't stopped for. You don't have the oversight to make the specifications correctly, to make the drilling right. That well could have been safe. It's inexcusable that well blew. And by the way, BP got a lot of their people off that rig 6 hours before that thing blew. They knew they were in serious trouble. They so much stuff, and I've been out there back and forth to the Gulf region. I've only spent about a third of my time in my campaign because I'm going back and forth to Venice and Grand Isle and all those places, working on trying to do the solution, and working diligently right now on trying to come up with a solution that will clean up the oil spills and get us where our ecology and estuaries are not destroyed by this oil. But we have to drill, we have to do the technology it takes and the specifications it takes to do it safely. And that can certainly be done. And 100 years from now, when this oil begins to run out, we'll have plenty of technology. If I have to, I'll hang around and invent some of it myself. Thank you.
Mr. Scholl, what do you believe to be a responsible energy policy for America? You have 90 seconds.
Great question. Definitely do not support cap and trade. In fact, that's what got me off the couch. When I saw that Alan Boyd voted for cap and trade, as an airline pilot, I go, you know, he's coming after my job. Fight's on, fair. I'm going to take out his job. So that's why I got into this. Cap and trade, and they're going to have, it's called another name now. They change it every week depending on how it's selling. But if they pass it, 36% increase in your home energy bill. If you own a small business, that's a 60% increase in your energy bill. So it's going to annihilate our economy. What would be nice to do, and with regards to offshore drilling, I do support it as an F-15 fighter pilot. I just don't want it in the water ranges right outside Eglin Air Force Base and Tyndall Air Force Base. Because if we lose that trading mission, that's 30,000 jobs, so we got to protect that. Eventually those emissions will go away, and then we can drill offshore in the water ranges. But we've got so much oil, natural gas, and coal, for us not to have a domestic energy policy is ridiculous. If we would just develop it, we have a 10-year supply without importing anything. And just think of all the money that the federal coffers would have because they own the leases on those lands. Let's open up all our energy leases. We're the only country in the world that puts off their energy supply, makes it off limits. That is so ridiculous when we're staring at the national debt and there are the rent owners on that. If they would allow the energy companies to expand exploration, the federal government's going to get revenue that they don't have to get from us, and it'll create 90,000 jobs with a 5% increase. That's the solution.
Ms. Olster, what do you believe to be a responsible energy policy? You have 90 seconds.
Thank you. You know, this is where I think that we have, this is a very